How's it going, everybody? I'm Dr. John Clayton, your Layton Chiropractor here in Utah. We're at Supra Chiropractic, and in today's video, I'll be showing you basically a patient that has some wrist forearm issues going on, how I adjust kind of through the elbow area into the wrist, some things to kind of watch for as far as things to avoid when adjusting the wrist for chiropractors, and things to also look for when you're getting basically a wrist injury taken care of from your chiropractor. And so stay tuned to watch throughout this whole entire video. And then be sure to give it a like at the end and then subscribe to the channel. Thanks.
All right, so we have our patient here. She came in and said that basically the back side of her wrist or the top of her wrist here is hurting. And that's kind of the muscle group that extends the wrist back in that motion. And so some of the first things we're gonna check here is at the elbow. We're gonna make sure that the ulna is in properly. So we're gonna come through here, let that relax, like that. Then we're gonna come through and on the radius. So this side will be more important because it's actually the side that like innervates or sends the nerve function to that part of the wrist. We're gonna come through here. Okay, radius is in. So now what we wanna do is decompress the wrist area. So between the radius and ulna as well as the carpal area, or you could say the carpal tunnel area through here. So what we wanna do is put our thumbs right here towards the radius and ulna, and then we're going to pull down with our pointer fingers here, pull down and spread it apart. And you can feel that, hear that wrist pop right back in there, just like that. So that radius, the end of the radius right here, it kind of pulled up a little bit, and so we just kind of set it right back in. So we want to decompress. One of the things we want to watch for with adjusting wrists as chiropractors is if you have a chiropractor that says, I need to adjust the wrist this way or this way, that's very harmful to the wrist. And so speaking from personal experience, I had a chiropractor who said, oh, we're gonna check basically the two terms there are radial deviation and ulnar deviation. And so with the wrist, you're always gonna have more ulnar deviation, so deviating towards the ulnar side here. So you always will have more ulnar deviation compared to radial deviation. And so from experience that I had was a chiropractor said, oh, I want to make them equal. And so they actually went like this and thrust really hard in that direction, and it actually tore this part of my wrist right here. And it's called the TFCC, the triangular fibrocartilage complex. And so what it did is actually weakened my entire wrist, and it took about 6 months for my wrist to heal from that. So just a side note is when adjusting the wrist, I do everything straight on or up or down. Anything side to side, as far as like applying force to it, we don't want to do that. So you will see that I will shake the wrist back and forth as I decompress it, but there's no actual force applied to shear or break any of the ligaments through that carpal tunnel area. So after we've done that, we can check into basically the hand and wrist area, down to the fingers, and go from there. So now what I'm going to do is show you how to tape a wrist that was injured, and you just use electrical tape to bring it back together and stabilize the ligaments now that they're in place, as well as all the carpal bones and the area between radius, ulna, and the 8 carpal bones here. So all we need to tape the wrist is just electrical tape. Typically, because I love yellow, I will use the color yellow, but you can buy a roll of electrical tape for like 25 cents, just the black kind. So, but for when I tape patients' wrists, I will use the yellow tape. So what we're gonna do is find our end here. Next, we're gonna have the patient do is you wanna have them touch their pinky and their thumb together, like this. What that does is actually helps form that C shape of the carpal tunnel right through here. So it keeps everything together, and then we're gonna tape it in that position. So what we're gonna do is start right here below this pointer finger, and then what we wanna do is be between this thumb joint here and this one as well. So we're gonna go right through there to stabilize that wrist. So we're gonna start right here, tape around, come through just like this. We're gonna end right where we stopped, or that spot right there. So the purpose of using electrical tape is because it has some elasticity to it, but not enough to let the wrist be loose. So now what we're gonna do is check through here. We're gonna have the patient open their hand, and you wanna look, and you can see that it is kind of compressing the palm of the hand or like the skin through here. But if it's too tight, you wanna see that there is still some slack when I squeeze this together. And there is still quite a bit of slack through here. So the purpose of this is how you're gonna tape a wrist injury or a carpal tunnel injury. And then you wanna do this daily if you can. It's very easy to replicate at home. So you can just do it at home and then tape it every day or at nighttime. If you don't wanna wear it during the day, if it interacts with your job and you can't wear it, then I just say tape it at nighttime. That way you can have it heal for 6 to 8 hours, and then that way you can wake up and go to your job and do what you need to do. So that's the way to tape the wrist and get it so that it can heal again and have all those ligaments go back to where they need to if they've been stretched too far.
All right, so you just watched the video on adjusting the wrist and forearm elbow area of the patient. And so remember, you don't have to use yellow, you could just use black or whatever you have laying around, basically in the garage or whatever. Be sure to follow that same taping protocol if you have a wrist injury. And then if you have any questions or comments, just leave them in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to this video and check out all of our other videos of adjusting and basically other specialized things that I do in this office. And again, I'm Dr. John Clayton. See you in the next one.